two men stabbed in broad daylight on the streets of Golders Green because they were Jews. I've just come back from Golders Green, where I expressed my sadness and solidarity with that community, but also my determination to act. Because the truth is, this attack is not a one-off. There have been a series of attacks, including an arson attack in Hendon, an attack on the Jewish ambulance service, Hatzolah, the firebombing of Kenton United Synagogue, which I visited last week. And on top of all this, Heaton Park in Manchester last October, where two Jewish men were killed in a vile Islamist attack on their synagogue. And so people are scared to show who they are in their community, scared to go to synagogue and practice their religion, scared to go to university as a Jew, to send their children to school as a Jew, to tell their colleagues that they are Jewish, even to use our NHS. Nobody should live like that in Britain, but Jews do. And so yesterday, this anxiety that is always there went to another place, to terror, frankly. That is the right word. I want to thank the Jewish security services who wrestle with this every day and who, alongside the police, prevented a much greater tragedy yesterday. I met some of the first responders today, and on behalf of the country, I thank them for their bravery. We will strengthen the visible police presence in our Jewish communities. We will increase our investment in those Jewish security services. We will introduce much stronger powers to shut down charities that promote anti-Semitic extremism. We will prevent hate preachers from entering our country, bar them from our campuses, our streets, our communities. Work with our justice system to speed up sentencing on anti-Semitic attacks, so there is a stronger deterrence factor, as we do with riots. And we need stronger powers to tackle the malign threat posed by states like Iran, because we know for a fact that they want to harm British Jews, which is why we will fast-track the necessary legislation. And yet, the truth is, while we can and we will bring the full power of the state to bear on this, this is about society every bit as much as it is about security. At moments like this, we often say, this is not Britain, that these attacks are an affront to British values, to British tolerance, British decency. But they keep happening, don't they? And so today, instead, I will simply say that our values are not a gift handed down generation to generation. They are something we earn each day through action. They come from us. Anti-Semitism is an old, old hatred. History shows that the roots are deep. And if you turn away, it grows back. Yet far too many people in this country diminish it. They either don't see it or they don't want to see it. Take the marches that happen regularly across Britain. Of course, we protect freedom of speech and peaceful protest in this country. But if you are marching with people wearing pictures of paragliders without calling it out, you are venerating the murder of Jews. If you stand alongside people who say globalise the Intifada, you are calling for terrorism against Jews. And people who use that phrase should be prosecuted. It is racism, extreme racism. And it has left a minority community in this country scared, intimidated, wondering if they belong. So I say again, this government will do everything in our power to stamp this hatred out. We will strengthen our security and protect our Jewish community. But I also call on everyone decent in this country to open their eyes to Jewish pain, Jewish suffering, and Jewish fear. I call on everyone to come together and fight anti-Semitism. And I call on everyone to fight for the decent, respectful, tolerant Britain that I and millions of people love, so that our freedom and our values can still speak loud and true to a community that can no longer take it on faith. Thank you. I will now take a couple of questions. I think first from Paul.
Prime Minister, you've just been heckled on a visit to Golders Green. One of the victims of this attack says he feels let down and the government isn't doing its job to make Jewish people feel safe. Can you say hand on heart that you have done everything you can, and do you owe the Jewish community in the UK an apology?
Well, can I start by saying I absolutely understand the high levels of anxiety and concern that there are. They're reflected in the various reactions over the last day or two. I completely understand. That anxiety has been there for a very long time. And the appalling terrorist attack yesterday made it worse. In terms of what we've done, we have called an emergency COBRA yesterday to make sure that we're coordinating the response and putting the necessary security in place. I pulled together the various criminal justice agencies this morning to make sure that together we can show that justice will be swift, effective and visible to give confidence to people. We had already put in enhanced funding for security, and we'll put more funding in now. We're looking at what further measures we can take on protests, particularly in relation to chants, to banners, and the repeated nature of protests. We're, of course, looking at what more needs to be done in health and education. And we will fast-track powers to deal with malign state actors. So there is a lot that is being done. Of course, we need to do everything we can. But we do also need to ensure that this is something the whole country is prepared to call out, to see, and to fight against. Thank you. I'll take PA.
Prime Minister, the police have said that the suspect in this case had previously been referred to Prevent. This looks like another failure for that programme. Can we trust that Prevent can keep us safe from extremism?
The investigation is obviously still ongoing, and so we haven't got all the facts yet. But Prevent was reviewed, and we made changes after the Southport attack. We need to be open to learning any further lessons that may come out of this investigation, but we're at a very early stage at this point. Thank you very much.
Well, a really strong statement there from Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, taking a couple of questions, but described right at the beginning yesterday's attack as a vile attack. He mentioned that he had been to Golders Green to express his sorrow with the community, but he said right at the start there he was determined to act. He referenced previous attacks, anti-Semitic attacks, but he said people are scared to show who they are, to practice their religion, to go to schools, to go to synagogue. No one should live like that in Britain, but they do. There was a very interesting section right in the middle, because he said this was not Britain, this was not British values. He said we often hear those sorts of phrases. So today he was going to do something different and simply say that in terms of British values, they're not just a gift that is given generation to generation. It's something that has to be earned every day. And then he spoke at length about the need to stamp out anti-Semitism and made an appeal to the country that it was not right in marches to stand next to people who were shouting "Globalise the Intifada." He said those people should be prosecuted. He outlined a number of actions that he said the government would now take, and he said this sort of hatred had to be stamped out. So those just the key planks of what we heard there from Keir Starmer. Damien Grammaticus is still there at Westminster listening. And Damien, what did you make of that?
Well, there are two things I think to sort of focus on there. The Prime Minister has been under pressure since these awful events yesterday. Calls from many in the Jewish community for two things. One is a clear statement from his government, from himself, to call out the attacks, to say that he's going to draw a line under this kind of thing happening, and that they felt that needs to be articulated. Now he already had done so since yesterday in the House of Parliament, in the Commons, during Prime Minister's questions when the first reports were coming in. But I think what you saw was that those comments you were hearing there about naming this as terror, saying anti-Semitism, everyone in the country had to confront anti-Semitism and call it out.
Yes.
There was a clear attempt to respond to that. And second was calls for actual concrete action. Many people have been saying in the last 24 hours is words are not enough. They've heard words before from political leaders. They need to see more. And then he went through that whole list of things that he says his government is doing.
It's interesting because, of course, the Chief Rabbi making exactly that point about this time yesterday, that words weren't enough. And the Prime Minister, I think, very careful not to just replicate perhaps some of the responses in the past, but lay out, exactly as you were saying, the sorts of actions from government. So reflect on what those actions are going to be. And I suppose the obvious criticism, given the Prime Minister himself listed the number of previous anti-Semitic attacks, why any of this hasn't been done before.
Yes, so the criticism, as you say, has come from the Conservatives, from Reform, the Liberal Democrats, who are saying that there must be action taken and it should have been taken before now, particularly on things like that one issue that he mentioned about prescribing the malign non-state actors, many people calling on his government to prescribe the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and asking why that hadn't been done. That was in his list. That is not new, I have to say. The government had been already saying a week or so ago that it would be bringing forward legislation to tackle those malign non-state actors, so groups affiliated to governments or acting on behalf of governments and intelligence agencies to carry out actions. The government won't say on the record that that is openly that is targeting a specific group, the IRGC or others, because they want the powers in place and will only say afterwards who they've moved against. So that was in there. He said that will come with more urgency. That's not in itself new. But some of the other things, I think, strengthening the visible police presence. So that we heard this morning, 25 million pounds more for police presence on the streets. But the other things too, I think, interesting, he was talking there about preventing hate preachers from entering the country, barring them from campuses and communities. So looks like the government talking about, he said, we will look at what we can do to do more in that kind of area, to do with protests. There have been calls again to ban pro-Palestinian protests on the streets. He said we will look at what we can do about those, about chants. He did say that those who use the terms globalise the Intifada should be prosecuted. It is racism, extreme racism. It's left a minority community scared, intimidated, wondering if they belong, he said. So clear signals there. about what they want to look to do. And then also he said that what we'd heard this morning, he reiterated that calling together all the justice sort of bodies in the government, that they want to send the message they need faster action, as they've had in the past tackling rioters, to see sentences passed down quickly in similar cases to this.
Damien, thank you for taking me through all of that.